Hey, what is going on guys? RvzStealth here, and in today's video, we're going to be taking a look at what C9 Jensen is playing right now in solo queue. So at the time of making this video, he is rank 6 right now on the NA server, and a lot of the champions that he's playing right now aren't champions that you're seeing a whole lot of in solo queue. At least 2 of his main champions right now are pretty off meta, at least for most elos. So I thought this would be a pretty interesting video to take a look at the champions that he's playing right now and how he's playing them. So with that being said, let's get started. So up first here, the first champion we're going to take a look at is actually AP Echo Mid. Now I've been looking at a lot of high elo challenger players accounts for mid lane, and most players right now are actually playing a lot of AP Echo Mid. Even like on the Korean server, a lot of the top ranked Korean mid laners are spamming Echo Mid right now in solo queue, and this is pretty interesting because you really don't see a whole lot of Echo Mid anymore, at least like in the lower tiers, and like in my elo, I don't usually see Echo Mid, so it's kind of interesting that a lot of challenger players right now have decided to pick up a lot of AP Echo Mid and they have started to play it again. So if we do take a look at like what he's going here on his Echo Mid, he is taking Teleport as his second summoner spell, obviously take Flash. Now the reason you take Teleport on Echo Mid is because his early game can be a little bit weaker against some of the meta mid lane picks. He can definitely get poked out by like someone like a Syndra or an Orianna in the laning phase. So by taking that teleport, it allows you to CS well in the laning phase. If you do end up getting chunked out, then you can just base and teleport back in, and therefore you're not going to lose out or you're not going to miss a lot of CS. If we take a look at the runes he's using on his Echo right now, he is actually taking attack speed marks instead of the magic pen marks. You usually see a lot of mid laners pretty much always take the magic pen marks, but he is taking that attack speed on the Echo, probably because like the 3-hit passive, the damage you can get off with that is quite a bit, and therefore getting that attack speed will allow you to get that 3-hit passive a lot faster, and therefore it will allow you to deal more damage. For the rest of his runes here, they're pretty standard, so he's taking MR glyphs, health per level seals, and then flat AP quints. For an example build on his Echo, what he does usually is he rushes Protobelt, after that he builds a Lichbane, then a Zhonya's. After the Zhonya's, he either gets a Rabadon's or a Void Staff, depending on which one he needs more. So if the enemies aren't building a lot of magic resist, then he would go for Rabadon's, but if they are building a lot of MR, then the Void Staff would be his 4th item. And then for boots on his Echo, he usually does take CDR boots. If the enemy team is stacking a lot of MR though, he might sell those CDR boots later on in the game for Sork boots. And then the ability maxing and the masteries are very standard on Echo, so I will just put them up on screen here and you guys can pause the video and take a look at them if you would like to. The next champion we're going to take a look at here is going to actually be Fizz in the mid lane. Now he's playing his Fizz very similar to the way he's playing his Echo. He's taking Teleport once again on Fizz for the same reason that he would take it on Echo. Fizz does have a little bit of a weaker early game, so by taking that Teleport, it will allow you to stay up in farm and just not fall behind by getting poked out in the laning phase. And Teleport is also very useful for like going for roams as well, either bot lane or top lane, and a lot of the time people won't expect you to have that teleport in the mid lane, since basically nobody runs teleport on mid laners anymore, at least in the lower elos they don't. In the higher elos, in like challenger and like diamond and master, they still do, but you can definitely surprise your opponents with the cheeky teleport in the mid lane. Now I almost forgot to note that he actually does have an 85% win rate on his Fizz right now in solo queue. He's got 20 games played, so not a whole lot of games, but an 85% win rate with 20 games played is still very, very good. So he's having a lot of success on his Fizz in the mid lane recently. If we do take a look at his build that he's using on Fizz now, he is going for a Lichbane Rush, which is very standard on Fizz. After that, he goes for his Zhonya's. After that, he will usually build like an Abyssal if the enemy team is fairly heavy magic damage. If not though, then he'll usually just go for either a Rabadon's or a Void Staff, and that would be his full build. build, so like Lichbane, Zhonya's, Abyssal, Rabadon's, and Voidstaff, and then for his boots on Fizz, he usually does go CDR boots. His skill order, his runes, and his masteries are very standard for Fizz. They aren't any different than what the average Fizz player would go right now, so I will just put those up on screen and you guys can pause the video once again and take a look at those if you would like to. And then one more interesting thing to note here about his Fizz and his Echo, we talked about earlier that he is taking teleport on both of these two champions, and another reason to why he's taking the teleport is because whenever he's got enough money or enough gold to get a Doran's and a Dark Seal, it looks like he bases and then teleports in with those items. So what he'll start on his Fizz and his Echo is Corrupting Potion almost every single game, and once he has enough gold for Doran's and Dark Seal, he'll base, and a lot of the time he'll use his teleport back to lane, and by buying the Corrupting Potion, the Dark Seal, as well as the Doran's Ring, it just gives him a lot of sustain in the laning phase, so even if he is getting poked out a little bit, he'll be able to regen that really quickly, and it will make his laning phase like a lot stronger for sure. The next champion we're going to take a look at here is going to be LeBlanc, and his build on LeBlanc recently is quite a bit different than what the average LeBlanc is going. He hasn't played a whole lot of LeBlanc this season, so it doesn't give you the best indication, I guess, as to whether this build is the best or not, but Shifter right now, who is rank 5 in Challenger in NA, he is also going for this same build on LeBlanc. So what the build consists of is rushing a Lichbane or getting a Lichbane as your first or second item. Now the reason I think they're doing this on LeBlanc now is because with LeBlanc's new mini rework, you can't instantly burst a champion anymore. You have to wait like at least a second and a half, I think it is, to use your full combo to get maximum damage off, and therefore by going a Lichbane, when you have to wait like a few seconds or like a second to get your maximum damage off, in between that time, you can get that empowered auto attack off from the Lichbane. So I think that's the reason to why a few players are starting to go that on LeBlanc now. For the ability maxing and the runes and masteries, I'll put them up on screen here. For the runes, he is taking Magic Pen Marks. He's going 6 CDR per level glyphs. He is also taking 3 ability power per level glyphs, and then he's going 9 health per level seals and 3 AP quints. For his ability maxing, he's going W first, Q second, and E last, and then obviously take your ultimate at 6, 11, and 16. And then for his masteries, he's taking Thunderlords as his keystone, so a very standard mastery page there for a mid lane champion. His second most played champion for this season is Katarina. He's got 25 games played on Cat, and he's got a 60% win rate. He doesn't really play his Cat any differently though than what the average Katarina will go, so I mainly just want to mention that he's playing a lot of Katarina and that's one of his main champions. I'm not going to go into too much detail as to what he's building and what he's using on her because they are very standard, so I will put the build, the masteries, the runes, and the skill order up on screen here so you guys can have a look if you'd like. And then the last champion we're going to take a look at here is Syndra. Now this season, he's only got 10 games on Syndra, but he does have an 80% win rate, so he's been having some pretty good success on her. Now the build that he's going on Syndra, he's no longer building a Rylai's. Some people in solo queue are still going Rylai's on Syndra, but every single pro player is no longer building Rylai's on her. There are only a few players that are still building Rylai's on her. Most people have switched over to just full damage Syndra, but I just wanted to note that in case you guys are still going Rylai's on her. What a sample build would look like for his Syndra is a Morellonomicon rush. If he is going up against an AP mid lane champion, he'll sometimes get a Negatron cloak before he does finish Morellonomicon, or he might get that after he finishes his Morellonomicon. But if he's not going up against an AP mid laner, then he won't build an Abyssal or a Negatron cloak. For his next item, he usually does go Luden's Echo into a Voidstaff or a Rabadon's. Once again, it does depend on what the enemies are building, so if they're building a lot of MR, then go the Voidstaff. If not, then go the Rabadon's. But it's a pretty standard build for an AP mid lane mage champion. And then lastly here, for his skill order, his runes, and his masteries on Syndra, his rune page is the exact same one that he is taking on LeBlanc, so I'll put that up again here for you guys to see. And then for his masteries and his skill order, for his skill order, he's going Q first, W second, E last, and then obviously your ultimate at 6, 11, 16. And then for his mastery page, he's taking Thunderlords, and he's taking 1 point into meditation on Syndra, and then 4 points into Merciless, so I will put that one up here as well so you guys can see what he's going. So that is going to be all for this video, guys. I think so far I've taken a look at almost every single role right now for like what a high elo player is using. I took a look at what Peanut was using in the jungle. We looked at what Quas was using in the top lane. For AD carry, we looked at Sneaky, and I guess right now the only position left is support, but there aren't really a lot of support champions that kind of play off meta picks or that play some interesting picks. They're pretty standard, so I haven't really been able to find a support champion or a support player that would be good for one of these videos, but I will try to get one for support out in the coming days or in the coming weeks if I can find a good support player. But with that being said, guys, thanks for watching, have an awesome day, and I will see you in my next video.